In a well-established contracting or trades business, you well know that there are two parts to the business. There's two primary sides to the business. There's the vocation and there's the business side of it. Now, I probably can't teach you a whole lot about the vocation of your contracting or trades business. What I'm here to give you some perspective on is the business side of the business. You can do $1-2 million by working hard on the vocation side, but to unlock $5, $10, $20, and $30 million in your business, that means that you've got to improve your skill set on the business side of the business also. The first perspective I'd like to share with you is you should be paid 3 times from your business. We should get paid with a regular paycheck. There should be net profit left over at the end of each quarter and at the end of each year that we can also choose what we want to do with. And on top of that, if we really focus on and improve the business side of the business properly, there's a recipe for it that we'll go over. You can massively improve the equity value of your business. Your business is going to transition one day. At some point, we're all not going to be here, right? So we can either make some plans and build equity in the business over time so that we've built a business that is sellable. We've built a business that maybe you've got young ones in the house that at some point they might be interested in taking the business over. Would they rather have the gift of self-employment, or would they rather have the gift of a business that operates properly? I want to share with you the 6 steps recipe that guides us to improving all 3 of those numbers massively over time. It'll be helpful for us to agree on a definition of what a successful business looks like. So the Action Coach definition for a successful trades business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. Ultimately, that's what we want to create, is an entity that's profitable and it works without us because the business works so well. The backbone of the Action Business Operating System, ABOS we call it, the backbone to the system is the 6 steps approach. The first step in the 6 steps is mastery. And there's 4 areas in the business that we need to achieve mastery in or aspire towards mastery in. Those include money mastery. What does our balance sheet tell us? What does our profit and loss report tell us? And how do those 2 work together? Do we have a pro forma or cash flow forecast for the business? And how is that useful? How do we use it to make decisions? And how should we manage our investments and our savings, and how should we segregate it so that we can be very intentional about where every dollar goes in the business? Money mastery is huge, obviously. Time mastery. There's not one business, whether they're at $1 million or if they're at $60 million, there's not one business where the team doesn't have improvement to make on their time management. And that's because we've always got a next layer to peel back on how effective we can manage ourselves in relation to our time. Everything that we're experiencing in life right now is a result of how we've managed our focus and attention, which is measured by time, right? Our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health, our financial health, our relationships, whatever's going on in our life, where it stands right now is a result of how much focus and attention we've put on that area. So the same is true in our business. If there's an area, a gap of opportunity, and I guarantee you there are dozens of gaps of opportunity in your business, wherever there are gaps of opportunity, that's an area that has not yet received enough focus and attention. It all has to do with time management. So we have a system and an approach in each of these areas on the whole 6 steps recipe on how to improve that in your business and in your team. The third area is delivery and distribution. Delivery is all about delivering your product or service consistently. Consistency is more important than quality. Hardly anyone, I've talked to hundreds in the last 9 or 10 years since I've been doing this. I've talked to well over 1,000 for sure. Trades businesses. Not one of them has had a real clear vision for where they want to take their business. And as a result, decision making is slower or more difficult. There's a lot of right directions to go because we have no specific direction to go. So the team is disjointed, and that creates frustration, and it slows progress down. So destination mastery is all about establishing your vision, your mission, and your culture. Vision is, where are we taking this thing? Where are we going? Mission is, how are we going to get there? What does it look like right now to make that happen? And culture is all about how we're going to behave while we're working together along this journey. Culture is how we measure attitude in the team. Massively important. There's very few organizations on the planet that approach core values and their culture effectively. And we have an approach for that is just brilliant. So that covers our mastery foundation. Once we have improved our mastery, we now, by the definition that we shared earlier, a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you, mastery helps us to take things from chaos to control so that we've got a commercial enterprise. The next step is niche. And this is really where marketing and sales happens in your organization. So where we start in niche is target audience. Who is your perfect A-grade customer? Without a clear and robust, in-depth definition of exactly who we want to work with, it is really difficult to invest in marketing and it actually do something for you consistently. There's just no other way to say it. If your marketing feels like an expense more than an investment most of the time, it's because, at the foundation, it's because you have not clearly enough defined your target audience. So that's where it starts. Once we have defined our target audience, then we can figure out what we do and how we do it that matters to them, which is USP. USP is a marketing term acronym that stands for Unique Selling Proposition. What makes us unique? Why should someone choose to have their driveway poured by our company versus someone else they've talked to? Why should someone choose to have their site graded for their commercial construction project with our company versus someone else they've used in the past? That all has to do with USP. What makes us unique? Why should they choose us? The whole goal of this second niche step, like a short way to say it, is no price competition. The better that we implement and dig into the different elements that happen in marketing and sales and position ourselves better, the less we will compete on price. Price will always be relevant, but we absolutely do not want to compete head-to-head on price. That's a losing battle. Most of you have experienced that before. So the way you get around that and the way you improve that is identify your target audience and figure out what's unique to them about us and help to position ourselves in a lot more compelling way in those conversations. Guarantee is another consideration. How can we leverage a guarantee into our sales process so that we can help improve conversion, we can improve the confidence they have in working with us as a subcontractor or as a contractor? So guarantee can be super helpful as well. If it's difficult to guarantee your product or the service or the project because there's just a lot of moving parts, and also there's other people involved, other entities involved, sometimes it's hard to guarantee, hey, this is going to go perfectly smooth and there'll be no time delays. we don't want to put that in there. But what we can guarantee, I'd like to make the recommendation to think about this from the perspective of how can we guarantee the experience they're going to have in working with us. That's something that we can control. Now, it takes systems for that to be consistent over time. That's that delivery consistency. So we'll talk more about that later. And then ultimately, the 5 ways. The 5 ways is how we uncover massive leverage through marketing and sales in your organization to increase profit much more than you believe is possible. There's just so much opportunity in the 5 ways formula, and we'll dig into that in the next video. Now, we've worked on mastery. That helped us to establish a more complete commercial enterprise. And we focused on our marketing and sales, which made that commercial enterprise profitable, a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. So the next step that we're looking for is the that works part of the definition. That's what we're looking at in leverage. There's 4 areas that you can implement systems which creates leverage in your business. Those areas are people and education. How well are your people trained in their vocation? And how well are they trained on the business side of the business? You know, the services that we provide in Action Coach are primarily in 2 buckets. There's coaching and there's training. We have had hundreds of trades business employees and owners go through various 12-week training courses, master classes we call them, in areas like sales and management and leadership and marketing, and there's several others as well. Massively helpful for these businesses. When your team really starts to grow their own skill set along the way, it's not just you, the owner, pulling the business forward. The team can help you pull the business forward because they're learning more about how to do that on the business side. Again, we can work our tail off on the vocation side of the business and build a couple of $1 million business. I've seen it happen over and over again. But there comes a time where you tap out and it's like, hey, I don't have any more time and energy to give this thing. I don't know how to grow it past where I'm at right now. We're at $2.8 million and it's taken every ounce of my energy and attention to make that happen. So a couple of different things happen when we hit that ceiling. We decide to shrink our team so that it's a little bit easier to manage and we can get some of our time back just because we reduce the size of the business. I've seen people just run themselves into the ground and their relationships with their family aren't as strong as they should be, and their health diminishes over time too, because your business can take your health if you let it. If you don't control your business will control you, I guess is another way to say it. And there are some who use this recipe to approach their business and they break through that barrier to where the business relies on their time. That happens in the leverage step of the 6 steps. So, like I said, there's people in education. There's also systems and technology. How can we use different... God, there's so many new ways to approach things and so many tools that we have now that will help save time. You know, artificial intelligence. There's tons of ways, and there will continue to be more ways that we can reduce the amount of time different tasks take on the business side of the business, which is awesome. So systems and technology is important. Delivery and distribution. You know, how efficiently can we manage our delivery and distribution so that it's consistent, high quality, our team is confident in what they're delivering each time. And then the 4th area is testing and measuring. And I'll tell you, like I said, this will be in a different video, but the number 1 area that you should start testing and measuring, start measuring in your business, is the 5 ways. That is the most important area. Those are the 5 most important areas of the business that you need to measure and have a real clear picture of what's going on the financial side of the business, which will unlock, you know, we've got to be profitable before we can do all this other stuff in the business, right? If the profit's not there, nothing else matters. So the 5 ways is how we improve profit, which is always important. It's always relevant, I guess is a way to say it. So those are the 4 areas in the business that we can improve systems and thereby improve leverage in the business. So now we've got a commercial, profitable enterprise that works. The without you part is step 4. It's not that we haven't had team along the way. Step 4, team, is really about addressing you building out the organizational structure of your team, taking it to the next level. So first of all, we need an organizational chart for where you want to take the business in 5 or 10 years. What does that look like? When we're there, what are the roles and how many team do I have to fulfill all those roles? And next, what are our recruiting systems? This is a massive weakness in 99% of trades businesses. Massive weakness. And we have a killer way to approach this in your business that we can teach you and guide you through. If you don't have a recruiting system that is just, you're very confident in, then that is a massive, massive value to add into the business over time as well. And then each role that we're hiring for should have a positional agreement, not just a job description, but a positional agreement. And there's a methodology for what that should look like. It's a much more robust, in-depth document. It only needs to be 2 or 3 pages. It doesn't have to be like a book that the team members read. But what it does is it much more clearly defines what winning looks like in their role. Nobody wakes up in the morning, stretches, and they're like, man, I am going to suck today. Nobody does that. Everybody wakes up and they want what's best for themselves and their family and their loved ones, right? This positional agreement helps them understand more clearly how they can win in their day's work. The more ambiguous that is, the more frustrated they're going to be, and that's a big contributor to employee turnover over time. So positional agreements are massively important, and you as the owner should also have a positional agreement for yourself in the role that you're serving each step along the way too. And the 4th step is to install a general manager. It could be a different title if you want it to be. It could be a vice president, whatever. But this is the person that is going to replace you, the owner, in the business. This is the person who is going to lead the management and operations of the business. You as the owner will still lead, key team members, but it'll be through that point person, that VP or that general manager, however you want to call it. But eventually, that's where you really buy back your time fully from the business. Now, you're not in the way anymore. Until this point, to some degree, you as the owner are in the way of the business's progress because some or a lot of the business relies on you. When the business relies less and less and less on you, the business has an opportunity to now grow because you're not the lid anymore. You may have heard of the law of the lid. John Maxwell really spoke in depth on this. It's awesome. Awesome concept. And it's totally true. We are the lid as the owner. We are the lid of the business. And until we're willing to grow ourselves, we are choosing to keep a lid really tight on the business's growth and movement forward. So you'll notice the red dotted line between steps 4 and 5. I like to add that in there. It's something that I personally do when I'm talking through this. The red dotted line represents us having achieved building a model of a business that works by definition. Mastery, commercial enterprise. Niche, it's profitable. Leverage, we've introduced systems throughout the business. So now it works. It works effectively. In team, eventually we install a GM to operate the business, and now it works without me, the owner. We've built a model, and now we can think about expansion. Until we get to this point, Expanding the business means that we're expanding an incomplete model, and it's going to become very challenging and frustrating. Not that it's easy, even when we get here. It's not ever going to be easy. However, building the model is fundamental for being able to grow and scale. So there are lots of different models of scaling and growth. We have a whole tier of programming and Action Coach dedicated to scaling businesses once the model has been established and tested. So that's something that we can talk about. And then the sixth step is freedom. And this is really where we're building significant wealth for our family. And it also is a point in our time where we can have a significant community impact, which is ultimately where I want to see every organization get to. My personal goal in my coaching practice is to help every business that I can to grow so significantly that, hey, I've taken care of myself, I've taken care of my family, I've taken care of our retirement, our team is in a good spot. What's next? Well, what's next is we can make a community impact. We've got several builders and trades businesses that we work with that take multiple months off each year, the owner and even some of the key team members of leadership. They'll take several months off each year, dedicate that time to missions around the world or around the country, do missions work. We have quite a few folks who, I don't know the amount that they're writing, but they're writing $200 or $500 or $1 million checks to the church to help support efforts and support ministry and support missions. There's so many different ways that we can contribute and give back to our community, and that's ultimately what I believe our small businesses are put here on earth for. Like the reason it exists, like what's it all about? I believe it's much bigger than us, what it's all about. So great exercise to follow this up is to get out a pad and some paper and write down each of these bullet points on the 6 steps and grade your business where it's at right now and be honest with yourself about where it's at. Where is each of these areas at in your business on a scale of 1 to 10?